Tim Allen's memorable roles in That Unforgettable Grunt may have made him famous, you might be surprised to hear that he really has a grudge against one of his co-stars despite his amiable on-screen persona and the jokes he tells. Someone with whom Tim Allen had worked for many years was the object of his intense wrath. Wonder who it could be? It's not the person you anticipate. Their once friendly relationship quickly descended into an unstable one marked by frequent misunderstandings, treachery, and major issues at work. Am I piqued? The fascinating tale of Tim Allen and his ill-fated co-star deserves further investigation. Tim Allen is well liked by all, the vast majority in any case. Hollywood is home to many famous ties. While some of them are authentic, others are merely excellent actors. But have you ever considered the consequences of an on-screen romance gone wrong? There was rumor that Tim Allen, despite being one of the nicest actors working today, had an axe to grind with one of his co-stars. I won't deny that throughout Allen's lengthy career, he has become friends with some truly remarkable people. Now we can examine Tom Hanks. Despite the fact that they recorded their Toy Story lines at separate times, they treat each other with nothing but respect. If Buzz and Woody can be friends in real life, then anything is possible. On the other hand, Last Man Standing's Nancy Travis plays his wife. Allen made light of their troubled marriage by saying they got along so well that it was perfect in every way. In addition, his reliable home improvement partner Al Borland and Richard Karn should not be overlooked. They reunited for an episode of Assembly Required on the History Channel after a long separation because of how close they were. Out of all these friends, which co-star did Allen have a strained relationship with? I don't see what the problem was with their collaboration. Stay put, because things are about to heat up in this story. What happens when an unexpected stand-up comic becomes the star of a popular TV show? Life isn't always a bed of roses. Before becoming the well-known and beloved Tim Allen, Tim the Toolman Taylor worked tirelessly. His career in stand-up comedy took him from late-night clubs to primetime television. The transition was rocky, and let's just say that not all crew members found his ferocity as amusing as the audience. Envision yourself in charge of the entire stage production while simultaneously collaborating with producers, writers, and a large ensemble of child actors. Although he had anticipated a good time, Allen found the transition challenging, and the pressure to ensure Home Improvement's success caused him to take himself too seriously at times. Even though they had a wonderful on-screen chemistry, Patricia Richardson, who played his on-screen wife Jill Taylor, spoke later about how intense things could get when filming. She remarked Tim loved the show very much, but that love came across as intense at times, and it wasn't always easy. So you were aware of Tim's ideas whenever he had them. If something didn't work, Allen wasn't afraid to say so. He had a good sense of humor. What worked, Tim knew precisely. If a joke didn't land, you'd know it immediately, according to a former writer. If you were hoping for a harmonious work environment, this might not have been the best choice. His lack of vice was appreciated by some, while others likely wished he would meditate more. As the show became more popular, Allen's influence expanded. He had progressed from supporting role to leader. Home Improvement would not have been as successful without his talents, but not everyone was happy about the amount of power he was receiving. Particularly, at times, the writers disagreed with their star. When comics begin writing new plots, you know they're starting to heat up. As unbelievable as it may sound, these preliminary battles were merely a prelude. Behind the scenes, the real drama had just begun. It would put Allen's patience to the test, help him become a better boss, and further strain an already strained relationship at work. This story is far from over, so hold on. Have you ever pondered the consequences of a popular TV show unexpectedly catapulting its actors to stardom? Great television shows were plentiful in the 1990s. Here we are, ready to discuss Home Improvement. Although Tim Allen's family appeared ideal on the outside, behind the scenes things were far from smooth sailing. Everything changed because of the show. In the blink of an eye, he went from performing stand-up comedy to representing one of the most popular shows in the United States. Hollywood blockbusters like The Santa Claus and Toy Story were the result, and he became a household name around the globe. When everything is running smoothly, though, unexpectedly, a great deal of disorder arises. Imagine being a young person and suddenly having your likeness appear on the cover of every magazine. That was the reality, according to Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Similar to his on-screen siblings, Taryn Noah Smith and Zachary Ty Bryan, he shot to fame overnight. I believe there were more photos of JTT in adolescent beds than of the Backstreet Boys, and a lot of letters were sent to them. However, the doors that fame opened soon began to fill the young star's schedules with roles in movies and other gigs. Tim Allen felt guilty about his newfound fame at times because he had worked so hard to get there. He supposedly informed a teammate, "These kids don't know how lucky they are." Seeing the opportunities he had worked so hard for granted to teenagers was like winning the lottery on one's first ticket. As the show progressed, cracks started to appear. Artists' lives are transformed when they receive requests for speaking engagements, film roles, and television appearances. Although Allen devoted his whole attention to home improvement, a few of his co-stars had more ambitious ambitions. Furthermore, who among us would say no to a high-profile position in Hollywood? In particular, this shift caused tension between Allen and a co-star who was eager to branch out and try something new on set. While everyone else seemed preoccupied with their own plans, it seemed like only one team member was giving 110% to a collaborative effort. No one could tell how close the home improvement family was from the outside. It wasn't all dinners at home and chit-chat over the fence, we'll admit that. As the seasons progressed, tensions rose and miscommunication ensued. A job that was once fulfilling transformed into a delicate balancing act. Having said that, was home improvement destined to fail from the beginning, or is this the natural conclusion for popular shows? With the existence of social media, we could have witnessed some perplexing tweets and passive-aggressive Instagram stories from that era. Much more interesting than what we see on TV are the things that happen behind the scenes. Have you ever watched a program and wondered, is this real? Tell me what's actually happening in the background. On Home Improvement, we saw that things weren't always as they appeared. Believe me when I say that there were some seriously serious moments behind the scenes that made the actors' on-screen chemistry seem anything but. Take Allen as an example. Aside from being a legend, he also had very specific plans for how each scene should unfold. Without a doubt, he was the world's most attractive human being. If a joke fell flat, what then? Time and time again, they would repeat the process. According to one of the directors, Tim had a scheme and would keep them going until the joke was truly felt. Am I right? It seems like a promise, although it is exhausting. Is this the 10th or 21st take? Being on set and wondering would be strange. I became confused. The writer's room is another location. As Tim's authority increased, his ideas for the show evolved. The script was discarded if the storyline did not align with his concepts. An anonymous writer claimed that Tim disliked every single draft and demanded that they be redone. What about giving artists more leeway? It would be terrible to put in a lot of time and effort into something just to have it rejected because the other person had other ideas. Things will be fine, won't they? It wasn't simply the writers and crew, though. Everyone was attractive. Although they appeared to be the epitome of a close-knit family on screen, the gang was actually dealing with their own issues behind the scenes. Although they appeared to be the ideal TV family, Patricia Richardson, real name Jill Taylor, revealed that they weren't always in constant communication with one another. Everyone seems prepared for a family reunion. On some occasions, they got along great, and on others, they turned up, got the job done, and then departed. No signs of tenderness can be detected. Regardless, Home Improvement went on to become a legendary comedy. What was happening behind the curtain was unknown to the spectators. They witnessed joy, laughter, and quality time spent with loved ones, as well as the endless pursuit of home improvement. Still, beneath it all, issues arose at work, disagreements occurred regarding ideas, and a relationship ultimately broke down irreparably. Ask yourself, what's happening behind the scenes that I'm missing the next time you watch a show? I guarantee you it will captivate you more than any television show ever will. Tim Allen's co-stars started discussing the making of Home Improvement a few years after the show ended. The journey has, shall we say, broadened our perspectives. Contrary to what you might expect from a family show, working with Tim wasn't always a picnic. Would you like to know the story behind the scenes? Come with me. Patricia Richardson, who portrayed Tim's wife for 8 years on television, is shown here. The group's most courteous member is she. She admitted in an interview from 2020 that tensions did arise despite the fact that they generally got along well. She made the comment, "Tim's intense about his work," which translates to he takes his job very seriously, which can be uncomfortable at times. Despite the large salary disparity, she left the show before the 9th season due to this. Patricia persisted in defending Tim. She said, "He made me laugh every day," and went on to say that, despite his imperfections, he was never disrespectful. The show's quality was Tim's top priority. In private, was he also somewhat dramatic? Also, Tim's The Santa Claus featured Casey Wilson. The complete opposite is true. Things were drastically different for Casey. Her opinion that her time with Tim was the worst she had ever experienced with a co-star was widely known. My goodness. She distinctly recalls him admonishing her for being disrespectful and uncaring during their time together. She described the pain as excruciating. "He addressed me as if I were an assistant coach rather than a fellow player." How exactly did Tim look? Did he simply lose it that day, or had we never witnessed that side of him before? After playing Al Borland, Richard Karn had a new perspective. Tim and he have been colleagues for quite some time, and he admires Tim for being honest, even when that honesty isn't packaged nicely. "Tim always lets you know where you stand," said the man. "You could always count on Tim to tell you the truth, even though he wasn't exactly showering you with compliments. Doing what's right or being cruel. It is up to you to decide." Next, there was JTT, or Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Whoever he was once he left Home Improvement never once brought up his time there. Unlike his fellow former child stars, JTT remained silent throughout the reunion. Is it possible that he and Tim had unsaid tensions? On the other hand, was JTT simply seeking solitude to pursue his passions, such as becoming the most famous star of the 90s? I don't understand what's happening. Were these issues inherent to the position, or is there more going on behind the scenes than what those carefully orchestrated family gatherings reveal? Unless you include the occasional uncomfortable silence, working with Tim Allen was never exactly a picnic. The problem, though, is that he took on more and more projects as his fame increased. His film credits include Tom and Huck, in addition to his role as young Simba in The Lion King. A quarrel broke out between Home Improvement, Tom and Huck, and The Lion King out of nowhere. The issue, though, was that Jonathan occasionally showed up to work absolutely exhausted from his other jobs, which Tim greatly disliked. Envision yourself in the spotlight if a co-star suddenly blacked out while filming a scene. That might irritate you slightly, wouldn't it? The strain had become nearly unbearable by the 7th season. What Tim now says is, "I hope he doesn't burn out before he's 20. Instead of saying he's so talented, Jonathan will burn out before he's 20 years old, according to an interview Tim gave in 1997. I can still trace his origins. Imagine your parents giving you the silent treatment while saying, "I just hope you don't forget about your roots." Things reached a boiling point when Jonathan informed the producers that he wanted to cut his role in season 8 in half so that he could concentrate on school. Tim took this personally since Home Improvement was the basis of his employment. When you're fully invested in a project, your co-star casually mentions, "Hey, I need a break to focus on school." Must have hurt, didn't it? Nothing was going according to plan after Jonathan's 1998 permanent departure from the show. Upon his arrival in Costa Rica to conduct environmental research, one of his characters, Randy, was written off. While it may have started out as a courteous way to depart, it has since escalated. Became one of the most talked about TV endings instead of a classy farewell. How did this occur? How did things go from being very amicable between Tim and Jonathan, like a father and son, to becoming completely antagonistic? Did you have too many people to feed, or was it the pressure of fame and desire? Whatever the case may be, the TV dad-son relationship didn't end on a happy note. Around the time that Home Improvement was about to conclude, Tim Allen made no secret of the fact that Jonathan Taylor Thomas was leaving. In interviews for the previous season's ads, Tim threw some serious shade. Many of his admirers mistook his comments about commitment and loyalty for insults directed at his co-star, even though he did not mention her by name. When someone who has been a part of a family decides to leave, it's a tragedy, as Tim expressed to TV Guide.